what I usually do at the beginning of all of my interviews is I ask a question just to shake things up so I don't get your elevator pitch and I get to know Jennifer. So here's my question. Flipping my page. If you could have other people describe you in 3 words, what would you love those 3 words to be?
Oh, what would they be? Is different
What
from
would,
what I would want them to be.
yeah, what would you love them to be?
What would I love them to be? Um, I think self-sacrificing. I think I want people to know that I want people to, I would like for people to perceive me as someone who sees the value in other people and isn't wrapped up in myself. Um, Another one would be somebody who is motivating to others, helps lift others. I don't know what would the word be for that. Inspiring, ennobling, that kind of thing, where it's like helps other people feel like they can be their best selves, wants that they want to be their best selves. And I would think that my last one would be, um, I think it would just be a general caring, just like that people sense that they matter to me.
I love those words. Okay, so again, it's not the words themselves, it is the energy behind the words. So when you said self-sacrificing, but then you described it's you want others to see the value in themselves and that you're not wrapped up in yourself. I'm like, oh, okay. Whew. Because originally my thought was way off from there.
Clarification. We probably need a better word. I didn't know that question was coming. I could have thought a little bit about what that really means to me because yeah, I don't want to lose myself and lose touch with who I am and what I need and those kinds of things in there. But so we know what that looks like. It's not a healthy place to be. And I would want other people to feel empowered to become their best selves in my presence as well. So, not feeling threatened by that. There's a lot of people where we if we get intimidated by another person's power, then we try to bring them down to feel like us, and then they can't rise to where they need to be. That happens a lot in family dynamics, things like that.
So then my next question is how do these 3 words or the energy behind these 3 words? And you said self-sacrificing, but in the energy of seeing value in others, not wrapped up in yourself, uplifting and caring. How do these words and the energy behind these words, how do they play a key role in the core message that you have for people?
Oh, well, it's basically behind everything I do. The core message of what I teach is about financial wellness and how being succeeding with money, being financially independent or on the path to financial independence is not the same as having a healthy relationship with money. And I want people to have that confidence around money, not just that, okay, I can retire at a certain age. I think I'll be able to retire at a certain age, or I have enough money to cover my expenses if there was an emergency. That's a good level of confidence. And there are a lot of professionals out there that help people get to that point. But the idea that we're still what's universal with around money is that every level of the socioeconomic ladder has financial stress. And not that I think we should be trying to eliminate that because I think that pushing against like working hard and having disruptions to happiness, that all is just part of universal life experience. We go through very much like an S curve. We have happy times and then harder times and then happy times and then harder times, and the way of the universe is a wave. And we can't really fight against that. We can't say, well, we just want a straight line all the time. We want to know exactly what's going to happen, and don't want anything to disrupt, the peace that we feel today. That's not a realistic expectation. But what I want people to do when it comes to their money is stop pushing against the thing that they know that they need to do over the next hump. So it might be having a conversation with your boss about a raise or a promotion. It might be sitting down with your partner about, hey, I'm not really comfortable with the savings rate that we have right now. And I can't do it on my own. I can't just increase that for our safety, for our security on our own. Or sitting down and tackling your debt, the debt that you've accumulated. Like that's the next hump that you probably need to get over. You know what it is. We all, as soon as I say, what's your financial hang up? Everybody's like, oh, please don't ask. We already know what it is, that the next thing that we should probably be tackling. And I want you to have the confidence to get over that and know that that's possible for you to. You're going to succeed, you're going to surmount it, and then you're going to have more confidence when the next one comes up. And, I just want people to feel that they can not just have enough money, but that they can have that confidence, that peace, that calmness, that they've got the tools to address the financial hangups and the financial situations that they're going to be faced with over time. So I
So
think that those are all in those three. Does that make sense? I think I kind of maybe got offline, but those are all in those. Like I want people's lives to be better. It matters to me that we're all walking around with stress around money. It's pervasive across every level of the economic strata, and we're not talking about it. It's destroying our relationships. It's making our nervous systems activated at every little thing. There's and we're not acknowledging all of the factors that are influencing our financial decisions, which is my 7-layer framework. So I want people to get that, because so many times it's just, oh, I need to get some new knowledge or change my behaviors, like a habit forming thing. That's the two solutions that most people go to. But there's so many other things involved in that, that if we can say, hey, there's actually some systemic forces, there's some relational things going on, I might even have a neurological activation to some of these things, then that will decrease the shame and hopefully increase people's confidence, be able to just feel calmer and handle the next.
this is I see a theme already, Laura. I see a theme around healing already. And so I appreciate Jennifer hearing what you're saying, because I literally have been talking about for a minute when you said healthy relationship with money. Um Several months ago, I was listening to someone talking. They were doing a show around money, and they were talking about also how we were raised in our relationships around money. What did our mothers teach us around money? So when you said those societal factors and the relational factors, I'm like, yes, yes. Like my body just started going, like, yes, yes, right. And so, what are we carrying possibly as well as some of those misconceptions around what we learned that also possibly foster some trauma around how we handled money and how we continue to handle money. And so I just came back from Morocco with my business coach, and the first thing she said was, we're going to have a conversation around what you were taught about money as you were growing up, because that could be what's hindering you from moving to the next level that you want to go. So is that a part of your 7 steps? Because you made me happy.
Yes, absolutely it is. So my 7 layers are societal, com- um, relational, behavioral, educational, psychological, no, sorry, psychological, physiological, and neurological. I should probably switch physiological and psychological, but I'm going from the biggest down to the smallest. So from the macro system that's affecting even some of the choices that are available to us, to the trauma responses in our nervous system that may keep us from being able to take action in the ways that we know we need to. So it goes all through those. And what you were just talking about is in the psychological level. It's the stories that we tell ourselves, it's the belief system that we carry around money. For most of us, it's unexamined. We've never actually listed out our money beliefs. There are some metrics and things, but the one that I use is I just have like some money and then I fill in like money and work means da da da, and you fill it in. You say, what does money means this in this context, and the very first thing that you think about before you get into your prefrontal cortex and actually analyze it, the thing that just comes up, just floats up automatically from your unconscious mind is your belief. And those were all formed when you were like between age 7 and 10, okay, in a neurotypical person between ages 7 and 10, before you've even had hardly any experience with money, you were forming this belief system. And some of it can come from actual things that people said, like, what did your mother teach you about money? Is one thing. Like, we're going to sit down and I'm going to show you what a checkbook is, or we're going to sit down and I'm going to show you, what you do every paycheck. You get a paycheck and how you handle your bills. That might be direct teaching. But then there were also teachings that came indirectly that you just picked up on and that your immature child had to try to interpret and make sense of. And and because we don't examine them, because we don't vet them, we don't say, wait, how did this get in here? And do I want it in here? This belief we're carrying those into our adult relationship with money, and for most of it's wreaking all kinds of havoc. I mean, where it's causing problems in the way that we relate with other people. We perceive things. We judge other people's their actions around money. We might say, okay, let's say we've got a saver and a spender. That's a typical life relationship dynamic. One person likes to save, they feel secure, they actually enjoy like watching the account balances go up. They look for sales, they're trying to economize, and the other person is more in the moment and likes to, enjoy what's going on for them right then and less worried about the long-term ramifications of those spending choices. Right. So if you're a saver, it can be very easy in our dominant economic culture in the United States to say that's the better place to be. It's like, oh well, yeah, if you want to be financially secure, you need to be on the saver side. But that's a belief system from a societal place that says this should be part of your experience. You need to be kind of anxious even, there's like kind of a level of like, okay, yeah, maybe I'm vigilant or maybe I'm even into the anxious, like, I can't even spend money. It's painful to spend money, right? That can come up a lot. And that's not any better than the person who never checks their balances and just spends and says, okay, well, where's the next plastic card I can get to buy this thing, right? So there I'm losing sight of the original question. Remind me what it was. About the belief systems and how they follow us into adulthood, is that kind of the thing? So yeah, we're examining those. We're examining those stories, and when we start to look at that, a lot a lot of things start to click and light bulbs go on like, "Oh yeah, we had some housing insecurity for a while, and I'm just, really anxious about so I have to have a year's worth of rent covered. Like I feel like I need to have that in a savings account, or maybe I'm really anxious about paying off my mortgage early even though the math says it's better to invest the difference and not pay off your mortgage early. It's better to put that in a diversified stock portfolio and save it. But I can't even sleep at night if I think somebody else could be taking away my housing security. So there's those kinds of experiences in that. And then there's just the little ones. I've worked with people who their belief system around money was they had the culture in the family was, what's yours is mine and mine is yours. And so you might earn some money as a teenager or babysitting or something like that. And then your family might need it. And their promise might be, I'm going to pay you back, but it was kind of a loose promise. Maybe that's really, it's like, I'm going to try to pay you back. But because you live here in this house and you share in the resources, that's not necessarily the way that the person that is borrowing the money is thinking about things. And so a person who maybe experienced that, where they went out and they worked and they earned some money, and then other family members went and used that money to pay for the things that they think were important, then that person might grow up and actually have a tendency to shun money. Like, to them, it's painful. It represents something that's going to be lost. We know that one of our biases is loss aversion. When we get something, the pain of losing that is greater, twice as great as the feeling of elation that we get when we get something. So the loss is, it's almost like, you know what? I just want to skip that whole loss altogether. So I might be an under earner. I might be someone who never asks for a raise. I might spend things as soon as I get them so that nobody else can say, "Oh, can I borrow that money?" It's like, "Oh, I just don't have any." So those kinds of things can make the state of interacting with our money as adults very difficult to do well, especially if we don't look at them. We're not examining them. We're not saying. I like to think of, this is a Rick Kahlerism. He's one of the people in this space. He says, think of your financial boardroom, like the people that are making the financial decisions. You've got this boardroom, and think of it as like all these little children around your boardroom. And they're saying, "I like this, and I like this, this is better for our but this is like last time we did that, it didn't look very good." Like, that's from blood humor. Like, these 7 and 10-year-olds, picture the legs swinging under the chairs, and the table like up to here on their heads. We have to say, how did that belief system get into our boardroom? Do we want it there? Is it still serving us? And also forgive that system that we have taken into childhood and where it maybe got us. Maybe it got us into debt. Maybe it's caused some relational problems and led maybe to divorce or bankruptcy. And then just say, we didn't know any better. We did the best we could with the information we had. We're not having conversations around our belief systems in our society. Money is taboo. Parents haven't been taught how to talk about money with their children. And so the very first step is to say, I understand how this happened. It's all okay, but from here going forward, I'm gonna change the dynamic. I'm gonna do things more purposefully.
I remember one of the things growing up for me was I just registered this in my mind the last year or two. I realized that my parents said no pretty much all the time. Okay. We can't afford that. We can't afford that. We can't afford that. And that in my brain equated to if you don't need it, you don't get it. And so anything that I wanted or anything that I desired or anything that I just liked but didn't need, nope, I was not allowed to have it. So even as an adult, that's how my money mindset would go is you can't buy that because you don't need it.
That's your belief. That's the belief right there. If you don't need it, you can't get it. Or if you don't need it, it's not, wants don't make the radar because that's going to put you into trouble or make there's like a lot of fear that comes up. It might even have a neurological response around splurging on something. That's like it's really hard for you to maybe buy something that's just a desire that has no practical utility to you.
Now add that
It makes
to
me
the
really
fact.
happy.
Yeah. So add that to the mindset that going to the doctor was a want, feeling better was a want because you did what you needed to do to make it through the day. So when I was in my accident and I was the breadwinner and I lost my job, getting a massage was a want, not a need, even though at first, after about 2 weeks, I could hardly move. And then eventually a month, eventually, right? So going to the chiropractor was a want, not a need. All these things that helped me feel better when I really needed to look after me, they were seen as wants and not needs. And years later, it's still paying the price. Yeah.
Well, I'm proud of you for finding your way to that truth, though. I mean, you still have time to address that and to change the way that you relate to money going forward. And so that's a lot of people don't even get there. They're still living with that. So good work there, Laura.
Thank you. I just wanted to like highlight how even these little things, because I've been working on my money mindset for years. I read so many books, loved Ken Honda, been practicing the whole arigato money. I wrote a love note to money and I had it in my purse for a while, which was the first time I actually started seeing financial changes in my life because I saw it every single time I touched money. And now I'm to the point where all those habits that I started and weren't very good at a decade ago have gotten to the point where they're semi normal and I'm finally seeing results. And it's like, oh, I planted that seed a decade ago and now look what's happening. And I wasn't perfect at it. I wasn't. But I continued with it even though I wasn't perfect at it and it still makes change. So celebrating all of
And
it.
that's one of the messages. It's a wonderful example. I'm so glad that you said that so people can understand that that again, the cycle of change includes ups and downs. It's never a straight line. And there's always the next hump to get over, and not to be afraid of that, and not to say, oh man, something's wrong with me because I didn't get it right the first time. But also understanding, like, so many people skip to, I need to start the new habit. And then when that doesn't work, they probably even create a new belief system like, I'm bad with money, I can't do this, that kind of stuff, which makes it harder again, makes it even harder to do it the next time. Whereas if we say, hey, there's a neurological response that's going on to this. I'm actually getting activated when I try to sit down and budget, or when I think about a long term plan, or this is pervasive for almost all investors. If they look at their balance and it's lower than it was the last time they looked at it, you're going to get activated. And so, not to be afraid of that, not to say, oh, that's something's wrong, I must change. And that's the thing about the neurological response, is that that stress response, it's just a general reaction to any stress. The body doesn't know that whether or not it's a fiction, or whether or not it's a truth, whether or not it's an emotional danger that you're sensing or a physical danger that you're sensing. It's just this general response. And that stress response is built to activate the body, to create the need and the desire to do something. And so if you're an investor and you feel like, and we all should be investors, not speculators, there's a difference. But if we're investing and we have that neurological response, it makes us want to do a thing. Call our advisor and change our asset allocation. Sell a stock or buy a different one. Move something around. Oh, I've got to do something. And what we have to do is like, okay, let's find a different way to release that energy. You could go run around the block. You could write out exactly what it was you wanted to do. So you're physically like making, you're actually doing something with your body. If I was not as smart as I am, I would do this exact action. But I know, because this is a neurological response, it's not something that means that there's anything actually wrong. Your portfolio balance will go up and down if you invest. It's supposed to. That's the only way that you get long-term returns and growth over time. So there's nothing bad about your plan. There's nothing wrong with this strategy. The system's working exactly the way that it should. But you're going to have that response. So we have to find another way to handle it. So I love your example there, Laura. And please, people, just start now. I mean, the best time to start doing something better with your money was 10 years ago, but the next best time is right now. Just start doing it differently now. And it might begin with an analysis of your past instead of looking at your spreadsheet, or creating a spreadsheet, or looking at your budget and your accounts. That might not be the best place for you to start, because money is not just about the math and the numbers that we see. It is about this. It's so much tied up in our identity, our belief system. There's these cultural forces that are affecting our ability to be successful with it. Certain communities in the United States have advantages and certain communities don't, or disadvantaged. So we have to like do all that analysis. That's when I work with people, the first 4 sessions, we don't even look at the dollars. And they're like, "Well, when are we gonna start looking at my spreadsheet? When are you gonna teach me about how to budget?" And I'm like, "Well, first we gotta talk about what you learned growing up, what's going on between the 2 of you, and what you're feeling when stuff happens, like, when you need to make a financial choice, we got to take ourselves out of that and go, okay, here's my little boardroom with all my children. Who's coming? Who's standing up and saying, "Oh, so I'm going to make the decision tonight," and and what are they seeing? What's the belief system that they're coming in with? And then we can start to look at, all right, now we've got a basis for what your relationship with money has been. You're more mindful, you're capable of being mindful and looking at it objectively and going, oh yeah, I'm not the person to shame when I have money problems. The system doesn't help. Consumerism is pervasive. Everybody's telling you buying something will solve your problem. And so no wonder we're all in debt. $1 trillion of consumer debt right now. And then we're told, and it's all your fault, which is that's just not true. It can't be all your fault. For one thing, why are credit card companies even allowed to give out debt that is at 30% interest rate? If you're taking out debt at 30% interest rate, that's because the the credit card companies, the banks, they expect you not to be able to pay it back. If they thought that you would pay it back, they would charge you lower interest. That's the risk that they're taking. It's like, you're probably not going to pay this back. I don't have any collateral. I don't have I probably haven't verified by looking at, I haven't done any due diligence to see, have you paid your bills in the past? What does it look like in your financial world? I'm giving you this unsecured debt, and yeah, I'm expecting not to get all of my money back. And so I have to charge you a high rate of interest right from the get-go. That's a systemic problem. That's not just like, oh yeah, I got into a bunch of credit card debt. Yes, it's your responsibility to get out of debt, but is it entirely your fault that you're there? No. And to me, the difference is I think about fault and responsibility in this analogy. If you had an arsonist burn down your home, whose fault is it that your family doesn't have a place to stay that night? It's the arsonist's fault that you don't have a place to stay. Whose responsibility is it to make sure that your family has a place to stay that night? It's yours. And it would be wonderful if someday we could get to the point where the person whose fault it is, it also was their responsibility. That's not the world we live in. A lot of times we live in the world where somebody else created the problem, but it's my responsibility to deal with whatever came out of that. And that's the just because we live around people. We live with people. We want people. Society flourishes when we're working together. So that just recognizing, all right, it's not entirely my fault that I'm here. Certain segments of society are disadvantaged. I wasn't privileged like others, but it's my responsibility to change things going forward if I want a better life. And there's power there. That's not, that's saying I can't wait for the system to change entirely, although I can take steps. We do live in a place where there is self-government and we should have a voice and we should use that. But in the meantime, I'm going to explore my value system. I'm going to think about the ways that I've been interacting with money, trying to do it mindfully. I'm going to start to establish new habits, recognizing that it's going to look very much like a cycle. It's going to be, I did it well, I didn't do it well, I did it well, I didn't do it well, until it gets to the point where maybe those troughs in the cycle of like, yikes, I really went off the deep end there in my spending or whatever, those are going to start to spread apart. You're gonna, it's and they show this with addiction recovery. The way to really measure your progress in addiction recovery is not, did you go off the wagon? It's, how long ago was your last time? And are we lengthening those times? Did we fall off the wagon, 10 days ago, and then the next time was 30 days? That's progress. We don't need to not, we don't need to hurt ourselves or to shame ourselves for the fact that we went off the wagon. We celebrate the fact that it's 30 days we went. Or if it's, now it's 2 years, or now it's 3 years, or I was, up to my eyeballs in credit card debt and now I have less. That's better than saying, well, I have to have none in order to feel anything good or feel any progress. Just knowing that, the cycle goes like this. When people come to me and they're like, "Oh man, I blew it." I'm like, "Expected you to. We talked about that. It's going to happen." So now we know something new. We know how long that took, that there was greater time in between when you overspent last time or gambled or whatever the financial problem was. Or we got in a fight over money, or I kept a secret from my spouse. But now I know and I want to talk about it. Whereas before I was keeping that secret for 10 years and now I'm keeping it for 10 days. Tremendous progress there.
I remember many times my husband would get mad when I would bring somebody over because we were in debt. We were going to the food bank. We got rent evicted. Like things were not good. Okay. And I had said before that I was the breadwinner. So to go from me being the highest paid out of the two of us to not having my income on top of all my medical bills was intense. So I would try to find people to come help and then I would bring them in. I really liked them as human beings. And every time they would start with the same thing. Let's look at your budget. Where can you save? I'm like, I don't think you understand. We both grew up poor. We're not doing any of the fluff. And they're like, oh no, let's lay it all out. You're totally doing the fluff. There's nothing to cut back on. And then my husband would just get so mad. He's like, you're not allowed inviting any other financial people to our house ever. I don't care ever. So when you started saying that we're working on mindset first and they kept questioning, when is the budget coming in? When is the budget? Good. That's what needed to happen all those many years ago, not the budget.
And I so appreciate that, Jennifer, because when I first heard you say the seven layers, that's why I wanted to hear what they were. When, as I now am even looking back as at maybe did I miss something in my money journey, right? Because I told you I started this after hearing something similar not too long ago. But right now, I one of the things I do, I also teach a gateway to success course with justice impacted individuals. And so one of the things that we're looking at that I kind of bought into the class is we got to deal with our inner child. We got to deal with those spaces, right? And so in my work around systems, the one, like I hear people talk about education, finance, the penal system, but we never talk about the system called self. And we never take that time to recognize that our greatest journey that we'll ever take is the one that's within. And when we begin to recognize and know self and how we were shaped and formed, and I'm looking at your seven layers via these seven layers, and I find that when I do that inner child activity, so much comes up and comes out for them. And it's just amazing because it takes them to a place of at least they're getting a start here. At least they're having some time outside of the world, even if it's for 4 weeks and 7 hours a day or whatever, to really just take a moment to concentrate and to stop and think. How each of these layers, and I'm sitting here thinking like Jennifer doesn't even know, but in my next class we might have to pay this clip so they can understand all the seven layers, because I don't go that deep, but I may not call them that. We talk about them, but now we can put the actual words and relate it to that. So yes, I that was just good for me. And then Laura, your story just added to it because mine was the opposite, right? My grandmother was like, just spend money, spend money, spend money because she never had it. So when she did have it was just like, girl, go get my card. Let's go here, or go get my wallet. Let's do this, right? And we as kids was like, okay, let's go, right? That type of thing. And so when I sit back and think about my relationships, and like you said, what was taught um, internally, what I was learning from it, it was, yeah, this is good. I'm enjoying this. Thank you for this, Jennifer.
And Dr. Dean, I love that you're giving them space to explore that child. It's really attending to that child. It's really, you said give it. I'm not sure the word that you used, but the what we're actually doing is giving attention to a child is wounded, our inner children, if they're showing up in adulthood, it's because they didn't get a need met in childhood. And so when we attend to them, when we say, one of the very first things I tell people to do when they sort of meet that inner child, it comes up in some interaction in their adult space, I say thank you. Thank you for coming up with whatever belief system or whatever mechanism, whatever coping strategy you needed to do to get me through that unmet need that you weren't powerful enough to meet yourself. That was the role of your caregivers. No caregiver is going to meet every need of their child. No group of people can meet every need because we're not mind readers. We can't really tell, and the child can't tell us. So we're all going to come up with these wounded parts. Most of them are going to show up somewhere in our money, in our relationships, in our motivations. They've even now shown that like the tendency that we have to procrastinate is a product of our childhood trauma. So stop feeling guilty about it. It's like, oh, I needed to attend to that childhood trauma need. I was taught something about myself that isn't true, that I'm now believing, and we all come through that. And one of the things that happens in our society too is that we're not taking the time. We're so busy, like we have to make money. Time is money is another belief system, right? That's part of
Mhm.
the dominant economic culture. So time is money is constantly giving us this pressure. And it's like, well, I'm not making any money if I'm just attending to my wounded inner child. And it's like, well, actually there's a circular way that says you will. You will actually help increase your ability to attract money to you if you tend to that wounded child from your past. But it doesn't feel like that. It's like watering the lawn when it's just seeds, and you're just watering dirt for like 3 weeks, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, is this ever going to turn into a lush lawn?" At least here in Arizona where I am, and grass doesn't grow. You're watering dirt for a long time, and that's how it feels when you give but the cool thing about it is that I've seen transformation. I've been transformed. Laura's talked about transformation. Dr. Dean, you've talked about, yes, we know it can be done. We can get to the point where we're like, yeah, this is happening. We're kind of looking down on the stage going, wow, my little childhood parts making decisions on my behalf right now. I'm going to sneak in there with my true self and say, hey guys, I got this now. Thank you so much for your input and for keeping me safe and keeping me going and doing the best that you absolutely could. Let me take care of you now. We're going to go out and we're going to meet some of our wants.
Mhm.
We're going to actually do some of those things that increase our joy, and we're not going to feel guilty about it. Even though I might have this belief system of like, that's bad to do stuff you want. There's no value in that. You can only do the stuff that you need. So all of that needs to be explored.
So, Jennifer, we only have about 60 seconds left, and I want to make sure that we know where to find you and your favorite way to communicate.
So breakthroughfinancialwellness.com. Breakthrough, just like it sounds, is my website. A little bit under construction right now. Right now, you're going to see just the speaking side, but I do meet with people individually. There's a way to contact me on there. Just email me if you want to connect about ways to present to your organization or to meet.
Awesome. So, I will call this the official close to the main portion of the interview. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Mm. So, now we have about 3.5 minutes to play for social media, which means this
Which
is where
means
I like to ask stuff that stood out to us and create little teasers for people to watch the full interview. So, Jennifer, I will start with you. What is one thing that stood out to you during our conversation today?
well, I just love because I always find when I start talking about money and money mindset, money psychology, money relationship, that people have a story and they want to share it. We need to talk about it. So you two did exactly that. We have a story. It needs to come out. It needs to be shared. Shame will diminish as we do that. We'll recognize that we all have a story. We're all messed up with money, and so I love that we were able to do that.
Thank you. And Dr. Angeline, what is something that stood out to you during our conversation with Jennifer?
First, the whole conversation, but in particular, the her naming the 7 layers. That was powerful for me. Yeah, those 7 layers. And I want to explore those a little bit more as well. Yes. So thank you.
So the teaser that I'm going to create for social media is, yes, Jennifer was sharing her 7 layers for a framework to help you make decisions around money. Now, I missed the last one. Don't tell us what it is, Jennifer. They will have to go back and watch it. And I'll tell you the first 6, but please help me in the comments, wherever this is. Help me with the 7th one. It's societal, relational, behavioral, educational, physiological, psychological, and then that 7th one, which I don't have it in my notes. So please let me know. Go back and watch the interview. Thank you so much, Jennifer. What we didn't have a chance to
Thanks
do
for having me.
in the interview itself is I like to hold space at the end of an interview. So we'll do it here for anything that is on your mind or in your heart that you wanted to share. So in the minute and a half-ish that we have left, what would you love to leave people with today?
That your financial problems are not entirely your fault, and we need to acknowledge so many other factors besides the fact that you're not disciplined enough, you don't have the willpower, and you're not smart enough. Those are the 2 messages that we get from society, and that's just not right. That's just not right. That's wrong. There's all these other things that affect our ability to be successful with money.
So you said smart, disciplined. So I'm trying to write them down.
Well, that's what society says you're lacking. Oh, if you're not good with money, you're not smart enough and you're not disciplined enough. If you just got the knowledge and then you disciplined yourself and integrated new behavioral habits, then you'd be successful. And financial wellness is saying you can even be successful in the way that you can have all the habit forming stuff and still be really messed up inside and have a whole bunch of broken unattended to parts that are making relating with money difficult on a psychological level and a relational level, that are affecting your ability to feel calm and peace. So many wealthy people, they can't even spend their money. They've been in accumulation phase and being so vigilant about like spending less than they make and making sure that there's all this savings potential. They get to the point where they got millions in the bank and they can't enjoy it. They literally can't spend the money. It hurts their nervous system is activated.
Yeah.
Their wives and families are saying, make all the sacrifices for us. Not to have any fun now.
So I want to take this moment to say thank you so much, Jennifer, for being here. Such a delight. Always appreciate you. And we will see you next time.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Thanks, Dr. Angeline.
Thank you.